Hi there, this is Phil Simborg again for the USBGF, and we have a very simple play here. You have a 5 free to play. The score is 11 away, and blue holds the cube, and red to play 5-3. And the question is very, very simple. Do you volunteer a shot here and move both checkers off the 10-point, or do you play safely and don't volunteer? It's a pay now or pay later situation, and these I do not find real easy, and even if I know the right answer, I have trouble sometimes explaining them, so I brought on my teacher and mentor, Perry Gartner, to help explain this for me. So first of all, give it a little thought yourself and see whether or not you would volunteer here or not. Okay, the clock is running, your decision is made, and I'm going to turn this over to Perry. Perry, what do you think here? What do we do and why?
Okay, well, the first thing we do is look at the candidate plays, as we always do. So, Phil, let's take a look at both candidate plays.
Okay, well, first the volunteer play would be this. Obviously, you're not going to volunteer and leave him a 6 shot. If you're going to volunteer, you're going to come here and leave him a 3 shot. So that's first. That's play A.
Right. And, okay, well, let's look. What I like to do is look at both candidate plays quickly and then analyze each one.
Okay.
So let's
well,
just
here
look at the
it's
other one.
obviously you get hit 11 times, and I don't see any repeaters except for double 3. Now we go back to the original, and we make the other play, which is to come here and here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now you've left no shots, and it's his roll.
And it's his roll. So, okay. So let's start with this one.
Okay.
In most of first of all, what we can see is that you're stacked on the 2-point, tremendously stacked on the 2-point, and that of course that it's not terrific for the bear off, but more importantly, it leaves you with almost no flexibility. All you can do from the 2-point is play an ace before you bear off. That's all you can do. Later on, you'll be able to play deuces.
Even if we had one checker on the 3-point, that would at least give us a 2 to play that we might not be forced to play elsewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. So what's his strategy going to be now? What is he going to do on most rolls? Well, he's going to run on most rolls. He's going to run. Only on a couple of 6s is he going to stay here.
Yeah, double 6 and 6-3. He's forced to stay. Otherwise, he can go.
Well, no, 6-1, 6-1, and 6-2.
Oh, that's right. 6-1, 6-2,
6-2.
Yeah.
If he stays, it's not going to be terrible for him. What's going to happen is he may have to leave his 6-point, but he'll still have a 5-point board in most sequences. Mm-hmm. But give him an average roll. His average roll, Phil, is going to come out and pass that point. Let's just take that roll. That's a 5-3, let's say. So now let's look at your numbers. What are your numbers? How do your numbers play? Well, a 6-3 and a 6-1 are beautiful, but what about the rest of your numbers? You have no spares anywhere. And what's going to happen here is if you don't roll, it looks like you're going to leave a shot, is my point. Mm-hmm. When you have a pay now, pay later play, what you say to yourself is, what's going to happen later if I don't pay now? And this is what's going to happen later. He's going to remain in your inner board with this checker, with a checker that he has there for a long, long time if he can, because it's going to make it awkward for you to come in, right? Just you can look at 5-1, 5-2. You can look at so many numbers.
Yeah.
So
not only am I going to leave a shot later, it's going to be more than 11 numbers that hit.
You're going to leave, and you're going to leave repeaters. You're going to immediately have bad ones, and you have repeaters, and he's just going to stay there, and he's going to end up having a good board. Now, your blot on the ace, the blot you have on the ace may help him, because if he leaves a blot on his inner board, he could then come in and hit you back on the ace point again.
Yeah,
so
it certainly helps him if I roll a 6-5 or 6-4 right now, because then he's going to get a double shot.
Exactly. And I mean, even a decent number, like a 4-3, you're going to leave a shot right now. The point is, with the
4-3, I could continue to be and play off the 6 point.
Well, but then you're still faced with that jeopardy.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, even if I rolled a 4-3 now, I'm better off volunteering. Let's take a look at that. Let's assume that this happened and I rolled a 4-3. It's still hugely right to volunteer the shot. And the point is, it was hugely right to volunteer the shot for the same reason we should have volunteered last time. If we didn't learn our lesson last time, we should have learned it this time. So going back to the original position,
let's see what happens when you do leave the shot. When you leave the shot now, you've pretty much solved your problem, because you've got spares all over the place. When he leaves, you can point on him, you can fill in, you can play a decent 4. You've got every number but double 3s here plays for you. And you don't have continuing shot peril.
Okay, so when you're talking about generically, let's forget this position for 1 second. When you're talking about generically a pay now, pay later situation, one of the major reasons you pay now is if it's likely you're going to pay even worse later.
Right. And also, the other thing is that when he does leave, you have to pay the consequences of leaving a blot if you play later, like in the position you're in. If you don't leave that shot now, you're leaving a blot on your inner board. That's always a danger.
Wow.
Because when he leaves, you can't point on him. You can't point on him, and then he can always stay there.
I see.
The other way is more likely to leave.
Okay,
so what get pointed on?
What if you didn't have to leave a blot? Let's say with this 4-3, and you stack the 2 point even more. Would you think you'd still volunteer here?
In this particular position, you would volunteer. Yes, you would.
By a lot. Yeah.
But wait a minute, Phil. Take a look at the difference. It was 20-some-odd percent.
No, that was 3 play. It was about 10% with a plus in both of them.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't. The difference is this is slightly less. It's 8% versus 10%.
Okay.
And by the way,
I would assume it would be slightly less.
You're the one that taught me not to rely on 3 ply, and we don't even rely on plus anymore.
Okay.
And by the way, if it's close, we don't even rely on plus. We go to a rollout. But this is plus is accurate enough on this. There is a difference. This is not quite as bad. Perry, I appreciate it. This was a big error to make the other play, and I have to admit that I wasn't sure when I saw this, and many other people that looked at this weren't sure. And one of the things that was enticing, a lot of people say, well, maybe I don't have to leave the shot later. Well, that's very wishful thinking when you look at the odds and you count the number of rolls that leave shots. And even if you're able to escape leaving a shot on the next roll, you've still got the roll after that to leave a shot. So you have plenty of repeaters and a very awkward position when you don't leave the shot. There are many times where you won't volunteer, and that's when it isn't so awkward afterwards. And when you're not, maybe you won't have to leave the shot. But the other thing about this position, I wanted you to address it briefly, is one reason not to leave a shot here is the thought that he might crack this board so that if you get hit, you have more life after death. That was one of the reasons I think a lot of people want to stay here. Why doesn't that apply? Just not enough of a worse board?
It doesn't apply because there aren't enough numbers to make him crack his board.
Because he's going to go. He's not going to stay.
He's not going to stay. If he were to stay, then certainly it would be different. But he just doesn't have enough numbers to do anything.
So we're assuming, just like Extreme Gammon does, that blue is smart enough to know that he shouldn't be staying with both checkers and cracking his board. If he rolls something like a 5-3, he should go.
Look,
and he does,
even
as you can see.
give him a 5-1, or a 4-2. He's gonna make the point and come out.
Okay, so that defeats the argument that you should wait because he's going to crack his board, because he's not.
Exactly.
Very good.
Most of the time he's not.
So in order to understand your play, you also need to understand how your opponent is going to play his next roll. And that's why it's so important to use what you call MCV, most common variation. You can't really know your best options without thinking about what his next roll is likely to be and how he's going to play it as well. Because lots of people here would stay with the 5. Think that maybe you stay with the 5-1 and play here. And this ridiculously risky play of blue is far better than cracking his board. To keep a great board, he might even get a lot more shots this way.
You might get a double shot this way that you wouldn't the other way as well.
Yeah, that's right. What happens when he rolls a 6-1? All kinds of numbers. Perry, thank you very much for your help, and glad to have you back helping us with these positions, and we'll be talking to you more in the future. Thank you, and I hope to see you in San Antonio in January. Bye-bye.
Very good. You too, Phil.
Okay.